Hello, everyone. Welcome to the church. Um, very cool. We're so excited to have you. Thank you for coming. My name is Kristen. I was formerly your communications and outreach manager. I am now the programming manager here. Thank you. I love seeing the familiar faces that we have here. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here. And to all the new faces, welcome. We hope that you enjoy this event and come back for other events. We also welcome you to our exhibition during our exhibition hours, Wednesday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you haven't taken it in, please do so. Tonight is Word. For those of you who are not familiar with this program, this is a recurring program that was developed by our beloved programming manager, Talina Mascali, who has recently left us and moved on to explore a creative life in California. We're very happy. She's doing very well, if anybody wanted to know. She's enjoying her new life in California very much. This program started as Talina's idea. She saw it as a vision. With the help of our executive director, Sherry Pascarella, they were able to turn it into the series that we have now. So we are very, very grateful for Talina and all of her hard work that she put into this program. We have totally. We have three wonderful writers with us this evening. Very much looking forward to what they're about to share with us. We will also have an open mic after. We have some participants. I will call you up afterwards. Few things. Please silence your cell phones. You are welcome to take videos and photos. We encourage it. We also encourage, if you want to share it on social media, to please tag the writers. Their handles, Instagram handles, you can find on our Instagram post about this event. Enjoy yourselves. If you have any questions, come see us. Thank you. One last note, I would like to welcome Houston Cypress to the stage.
One woman's mythology is another woman's legal framework, rules for etiquette, or perhaps a story to be sung for healing. This is a story about lies that reveal truths. Here is a story about the lying rabbit and the people eater. At a time when the earth was still young and malleable, and the people were able to speak directly to the animals. In fact, the people were worried. They were being hunted by the great people eater. And so the community organized a great gathering and asked the community of people and animals for help with the problem of the people eater. And the lying rabbit, he said, I can do something. But the people didn't believe him, though, because he was a liar. He's bawdy, he's lusty, and he likes to play tricks on everyone. So the lying rabbit goes and makes friends with the people eater and says, hey, let's take a trip across the land. I know where we can find beautiful women to love. So the people eater's like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So they traveled across the land. And as they traveled, they told stories. They set up a campfire every night and became better acquainted. And it was on one of these nights, the lying rabbit says to the people eater, hey, Mr. People Eater, what does it sound like when you snore? And the people eater goes, it sounds like this. And they slept through the night around a warm campfire. Another evening, The people eater asks the lying rabbit, "What does it sound like when you snore?" The lying rabbit goes, "It sounds like this. Chief, 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 chief." And they slept through the night around a warm campfire. And after some days and some nights of travel, they were nearing their destination. And the lying rabbit says to the people eater, "Tomorrow we arrive and we'll meet these beautiful women and we're going to have a great time." And so they set up the campfire that night and they slept around that beautiful warm fire, or so they thought. The people eater slept. He slept good, but not the lying rabbit. The lying rabbit, he was waiting for the sounds of the people eater's snoring. And he heard the snores of this people eater. So the lying rabbit, he goes to work, causing a great commotion with this campfire. You see, he took the embers and he took the coals. He spread them around the campsite, made a big mess, made a big fire, trapping this people eater in his ring of fire. And the lying rabbit, he sang a song. He sang a song that breaks up the land itself. And he trapped the people eater on this island, pushing it across, pushing it away so that the people eater wouldn't bother the people anymore. And in this way, this lying rabbit turned the world upside down and made it safe for humanity to thrive. That's the story of the lying rabbit and the people eater. So this story that I was just sharing is actually from a whole cycle and a whole series of stories about the trickster. And in our community, the Miccosukee people, our trickster is a rabbit. And so we find that the mythologies and the stories and the legends, they have a lot of weight and appropriateness for our times these days. So I wanted to share that because this is a story that comes from my community who live in South Florida, in the Florida Everglades, just west of Miami. If you ever have a chance, come on down and visit. This next poem I'm going to share, this next poem was written in 4D, and it's a four-dimensional prismatic poetics. Transition interrupted, incense lingers. Wetlands, MAO inhibitor, internal landscapes. Life, commercial break, evolves. Prayers never end, upload. What meaning natives defy, scrutinize genitalia like Tarot, casting genderqueer prophecies frivolously. Swamp Bay interfaith medicine. Our children arrive, stomp dancing, amidst hope, amidst pines, in an alternate universe, gentrified Everglades, Denver, Miami, San Francisco, Toronto, Standing Rock, Tulsa, cinematic trans road trip, Two-Spirit Rhinestone, Harness, Saturday. Instead, we made love. We could have made money. Grandma's Juniper Song, craftsmanship, architectural grammar, pupil, dilated, signal, modulate, glitch, glam, red strength, red hustle, queer forays, throb, translucent, stone butch dubstep remix, we sweat sparkling insights, clans, digitally enhanced sovereignty, bergamot, seduction, synth, splayed like hayrides, doused, this is my hair. Our hands clasped again, water flow through portals. She resonated that bass life. Insert ceremonial protocol here. Future creeps, herbal radionics, LED cascades, yield, hardline, literally for the love, gourd genre, world convention, tireless sheroes, unfolding banners, trembling leaf skateboard turquoise, compelling dawn, fucking brazen. Out yourself, dancing horde, enjoy feeling vibrations mounting. 4D. Thank you. So in South Florida, there's a dance company called Pioneer Winter Collective. I highly recommend you check them out. And they specialize in democratizing dance, unconventional bodies. So they put out a call last year for, the call was for public queerness, stories of public queerness. And they wanted these recorded as audio, and then they were using that as the soundtrack for a dance performance. So this is my submission. It's called Merry Christmas, named after a park in Miami. Enjoy hotboxing and cruising for adventures, cloudy rides along Old Cutler Road, light flickering through the canopy of trees, stroboscopic across our bodies. Two dudes sucking on blunts, passed back and forth, meandering our way through tight lanes, getting high as fuck, lost in the back roads. That's probably how we arrived, fugitives from scrutiny and bound by time. Yo, pull over here, you break it up, I'll roll. Fuck it, let's just walk around here and burn. Arm across his shoulder, his arm around my waist, drifting. Spit swap, juicy Swisher sweets. Those banyan, tall and lean like legs entangled. He slapped my nuts and dared, like ballers are wont to do. Race you up that tree, winner takes that ass. We tugged at clothes and yanked ourselves up the boughs, gaining advantage, losing inhibitions. We honored our queer predecessors so righteously. Their legacies etched in bark around us. We, two spirits, glistening amidst rustling unseen. The salt of our foray, like scintillating rain, glitter upon the earth. And so, as I close out, I wanted to share a different sort of reading. It's more like a call to action. And I don't know if anybody has ever been to this place, but the place that I'm referring to in this writing is known as Big Cypress Forest. It's a forest that's located just west of Miami. So if you're ever in the area, the way to get there is that you take the Tamiami Trail from Miami heading west. It's also known as Highway 41. And so this is what we're talking about here when we say that every tree, every plant, every animal has a relationality to us. And in fact, we're one of them. As the late Native American poet and advocate, John Trudell has said, we are literally shapes and forms of the earth. And severing indigenous peoples from our homeland perpetuates erasure and forgetfulness. So rather than imposing arbitrary lines on a map to keep our people out, the National Park Service would be well served exporting it to other parks. Big Cypress's capacity for multiple uses, freedom of access, respect for indigenous rights. We want to be on the land. We want our dreams to echo throughout the Cypress domes. We want to be able to sing the songs of the crow to the cornfields so that they will grow. We need to hear the songs of nature so that we can cultivate our gardens of corn and vegetables and children and the next generation. All of these need to be cultivated and sung to with love and joy and patience. And so, friends and family, tonight, to talk a little bit more about the Big Cypress National Preserve, please feel free to see me. We can share lots of more information. And I've also set up a little QR code over there for you to get some more information about what I'm talking about here. But ultimately, it's an invitation for you to join us in opposing a wilderness designation for Big Cypress and supporting Miccosukee presence on this land. But anyway, it's been an honor for me to be here with you tonight, to get to see you, to share some stories and verses and the call to action. And I look forward to seeing what my colleagues have to share with you here tonight. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Houston. Rachel, I'd like to invite Rachel to the stage.
Hello. True to the theme of spring cleaning, I've somehow assembled notes that exist in maybe 3 different documents, so bear with me for a second. Okay, my name is Rachel DeLoache Williams, and before I begin, I'd just like to say that I'm honored to be here. I mean here in the immediate literal sense, present with you in this beautiful room, but also, and more importantly, here with you in this vibrant community. Yeah, full stop. It's an honor to read alongside Adriana and Reverend Cypress, Houston. Thank you to the church for inviting me, and thank each of you for coming. The ritual of spring cleaning is ordinarily done in private, as is the jotting down of thoughts into the pages of a notebook. As I considered whether to participate in this event, I knew that I had clutter to sort through, but I wasn't sure whether any of it would be of value enough to share. Reading the pages of old notebooks, I picked through half-starts and maybe laters, looking for whatever seemed salvageable, bits worth keeping, maybe some worth sharing. The result is a hodgepodge of inquiry and whimsy, storylines, half-started, not finished. Take whatever serves you, sloppy though it may be, and feel free to throw out the rest. In her book of essays called The White Album, Joan Didion describes a period during which she struggled to find the meaning in a series of seemingly meaningless, disjointed narrative vignettes. She writes, "I was meant to know the plot, but all I knew was what I saw, flash pictures in variable sequence, images with no meaning beyond their temporary arrangement, not a movie, but a cutting room experience. The assemblage of jottings I present to you, and as much as it holds together, relies similarly on the imposition of a narrative sequence, a timeline, both real, 2021 to 2024, and constructed, composed of frames unified primarily by their existence, however discordant, on the same timeline, in the same news feed." Jumping to another thing here. The first thing I'm going to share with you is a story I started to tell. Has like a little bit of a trigger warning. There's some graphic scenes involving sexual assault. And I, infinitesimal being, drunk with the great starry void, likeness, image of mystery, I felt myself a pure part of the abyss. I wheeled with the stars, my heart broke loose on the wind. Pablo Neruda, poetry. Hunger. This is a story about love, the kind of love that shimmers and burns like a desert mirage, the kind of love that swallows a person whole. Ashley had never been in love before he came along. Love had seemed like a certain magic she was destined only to witness, not to experience firsthand. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but it never felt like it was her turn. She just wasn't one of those girls, the lucky ones for whom such things came easily. Her parents were happy together. Their marriage, like most marriages, wasn't perfect, but it spanned 4.5 decades. They raised 3 children together. Ashley, along with her mother's son and daughter from a previous marriage. Each parent had found what their daughter also wanted: a fellow adventurer, a warm body to sleep beside, a partner with whom to grow old. Of course, life is no tidy affair. Ashley also saw the flaws in her parents' dynamic, friction and fights, dysfunction and hard times, but she saw them stick together. Throughout her 20s, she believed herself unlikely to be the beneficiary of such unwavering devotion. Somewhere deep within the back of her ribcage, she felt privately undeserving. It happened easily enough for her friends. Sorry, I'm skipping over parts. At random parties from the center of the dance floor, Ashley watched as the couple slow danced like middle schoolers tucked away along the edge of the room. Ashley admired how they managed to retain independence from within their relationship, each one keeping up a personal life and individual friendships despite doing most things together. Sorry, I'm skipping all of this. Okay. They rode vintage 1970s mopeds and were founding members of a band. Years later, I told you guys this was rough. I'm skipping oh, here we go. But her own encounters with men have been drastically different. Guys were drawn to her like moths to a flame. Ashley, with her long, blonde surfer girl hair and cat-like blue eyes, her personality pulled them in closer. She bubbled, flirty and loud, languidly feminine in her movements, with a voice that carried even in crowded rooms. Her vivacity, despite at times threatening a hint of abrasiveness, implied that she was in possession of an unflappable inner strength. By all accounts, she was nothing if not genuine, but her bold exterior masked a delicate heart. Deep down, she was vulnerable, and she knew it. It's possible her belief in love was so pure that love itself, sometimes clumsy, especially in its early stages, manifested in forms she judged too unappealing, too inconsequential to deserve their own name. It could also have been that Ashley's outsized capacity for emotion made high expectations and the threat of crushing disappointment unwise. Whatever the root cause, she wanted a lot from men but expected very little, and with the exception of her dad, seldom, if ever, did any man prove her wrong. Now I'm going to jump away from this. We'll come back, but I think we should take a break. Let's see. This is worth waiting for, just a second. Spring arrives as a threshold, unannounced, like a friend you've missed so long you remember them missing more than what it is that you've missed. She shows up unannounced before her hotel room is ready, appearing out of nowhere while you're still see-through, not dressed for company. Then it gets cold feet and teases us with what we had forgotten we so desperately missed. It disappears, the warmth disappears all over again. The butt of a thought catches in the wind. What am I doing here? I came here for something, but the idea is gone. I tried to write it down once, but I put it in this app designed for creatives. And when my mind wandered, I looked off, my screen went blank. When I came back, the draft hadn't been saved. So whatever it is I was doing turned into a new objective. Dear customer service, your app will never be a success with creatives. They need things, hold on, let me find my notes, of course. Need my drafts. Dear nameless app I shan't name. I lost my train of thought and I couldn't remember what I was writing because your app doesn't save drafts. Artists need drafts. They get ideas they want to hold on to. That's where you come in. Oh my gosh. we're gonna better do them all justice. Can't help it. You've built it for this. I'd like to, spring cleaning. I'd like to purge the cachet of notes for later. Every to-do list I left behind. Marie Kondo, like old socks. Thank you for your service, but it's time for a fresh start. That's what the fuck I needed your app for. I needed it to catch those scarce, fleetingly lit bits of something I was trying to capture. Ripe seedlings of some value, barely arranged, beginnings of somethings. Ripe, not yet eaten. Those raw gems, raw nothings, raw everythings. Instead, I've become irate mad at an app, and here I am. Ideas that light are unpredictable and sometimes scarce. Ashley discovered at an early age that when it came to her, men were mostly interested in sex. She was 15 when she received the damning piece of evidence that formed the bedrock of her theory. 15, skinny, a girly girl who also played sports. It happened around the same time that 17-year-old Britney Spears filmed the music video for her hit song Sometimes over on the pier at Paradise Cove. High school's spring semester was nearly over, but the season's wildflowers still lingered in patches on the hillsides and canyons. Ashley went to her friend's house for a party, a classmate of hers, who was throwing the party with her older brother. Freshmen mixed with juniors and seniors, almost everyone got drunk quickly, everyone except Ashley, who spent most of her evening in the bathroom taking care of a wasted friend who was puking in the toilet. When she was finally ready to sleep, Ashley made a lap through the house. Seeing that all of the bedrooms were taken, people had passed out everywhere, she made her way back to the living room and settled for a vacant couch. That's when he asked to join her. He was familiar to Ashley, a friend of her friend's brother, and one of the most popular boys in school. Ashley thought he was cute. In asking to sleep beside her, she knew that he was choosing her for something. It felt nice to be chosen. She expected they would hook up, and she was nervously excited. She'd made out with boys before, not many and nothing more, but the thought of kissing him made her giddy. Wow, this is really happening, she reminded herself, as he stretched out next to her. When he kissed her, she closed her eyes the way she thought she was supposed to. Then he pulled down her underwear. This was new for Ashley. She'd never been naked next to a boy. She braced herself for his kisses to migrate, but that wasn't what happened next. A break. Thank you all for your patience. Still cleaning out. Let's see. I want to tell you something about the color beige. In 2002, actually, not 2002. 45% of Canadians cite social media as a source of news, according to the latest Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism digital news report. The proportion is the same in Australia. I worry young citizens grow up in a world where news simply doesn't exist anymore. They were referring to Facebook's decision to ban news entirely from its platform within those specific areas, where news simply doesn't exist anymore. There it was. That's where they lost me. A digital world where news doesn't exist. A syllogistic glitch in the matrix. News that's blocked is not posted. News that's posted does not exist. The word news originates from late Middle English, the plural of new, as in multiple news. This comes from a translation of the French word nouvelle, which is rooted in Latin and means new things. How could digital media exist without new things? If news doesn't come from a major news network, is it not new? I was reminded of a scene from a movie I had nearly forgotten, I Heart Huckabees. It's not something I had thought about in a very long time, and I don't remember anything else from the film, except for this scene where Jude Law's character seems to go off the deep end. In a meeting at work, he says, "All right, I don't have to tell stories." "What do you think would happen if you didn't tell the stories? Are you being yourself?" "How am I not myself?" he says back. "How am I not myself? How am I not myself?" I picture his brain fog like a cosmic latte, beige, thick, and textureless, pouring in from a vessel unseen, obscuring vision with thick foam. Beige is apparently the average color of the universe as seen from Earth, according to Johns Hopkins in 2002. I'm going to find this. I had a technological glitch before I got here that deleted the document in which everything existed together. So here we are. Actually. I'll leave you with this. That morning in La Barra, the clouds seemed to linger, hung as if to dry low across the sky. We lingered too in lounge chairs by the pool of a hotel we'd stayed in the previous night. We tracked while trying to ignore the dwindling time left before our flight home. We had been resigned from the start to the necessity of an ending, but even so, for a few minutes longer, we weren't quite ready to go. That's when it happened. I saw... It was terrible. I saw... Thanks. Thank you. Oh. Did you know that the hummingbird's tongue is thin as embroidery thread and so long that it extends not only the length of its beak, but back up into its head where it rests on top its brain? It can protrude as much as 13 times a second. Anyhow, that's what I saw. A movement in the corner of my eye, the blurred motion of a dart, its feathers emerald green. Turning, I saw a hummingbird, up, down, forward, and back. It sped along a trackless path that seemed connected to a different structure of time. It hovered in the branches of a flowering bush less than 10 feet away. I stood up, moved slowly towards it, hoping for a closer look and not wanting to scare it away. And that's when it did something I'd never seen before. Here was this bird whose wings could flap as much as 80 times a second. And despite its power and strength, the slenderness of its frame sat motionless atop a branch. Maybe stillness. Stillness given the choice of constant motion. Maybe that was the thing to admire most of all. Thanks for bearing with my flutter.
Thank you, Rachel. I'd like to invite to the stage Adriana Devers.
Me suena un pitico aquí en el costado, me suena un grillito aquí en el costado, y maripositas que vuelan de lado, y maripositas que vuelan de lado, y esto pinta rosa, estoy enamorado, a radionovela protagonizado.
Memories of my childhood. Spring cleaning. Spring cleaning was a novel concept for me when I first moved to the United States at 13 years old. You see, as a kid, and I have my loyal companion, El Señor Pepe, since I was, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, maybe he belonged to my grandmother. Maybe that's why he's so dear to my heart. But Monday through Friday, cleaning was just mandated. As my sister, cousins, and myself would complain over and over again, if we're going back to sleep, why do we have to make the bed? It went something like this. Dusting the couches, like you saw me attempt here. Dusting and dusting. Couches that were protected by plastic because my grandmother didn't want anything to fall on it. Scrubbing the tub every time we showered. Bleaching the toilet because, as Grandma would say, si te bañas todos los días, ¿por qué no limpias el baño? If you shower every day, why wouldn't you clean the bathroom? My favorite cleaning days were Saturdays. I had the power of the hose. You see, in Dominican Republic, we not only clean and wipe, we clean inside out. So we take the hose if there is running water, and we use the hose to scrub everything away. We grab the broom, we're hosing everything out. If there is no running water, then we go into the backyard, there's a bucket, and one bucket at a time, we are wiping, scrubbing, brushing, despojando las telarañas, aplacando el polvo, digging in every corner, desollinar, my mother would say. And don't let me find anything on those couches. I'll be checking myself. The floors were meticulously scrubbed. As I got older, it's like scrubbing was a ritual of forgiveness. Water washed away our sins, although I was convinced I was not a sinner. And Grandma would remind us, los trapos sucios se lavan en casa. The dirty clothes get washed at home. Shh. Windows washed with soapy water, crystallizing our sight to truly see the beauty withhold. A floating river, inside out, one bucket at a time. So nowadays, a spring cleaning, as my children see it, brings melancholy to my soul. It fills me with gratitude for what I now have the opportunity to clean out. While I still delve deep, I still inspect the furniture. I'm actually working on letting go of the dirty clothes and letting go of wanting to tidy everything up all the time or reprimanding them when they don't put stuff away. There's a lot going on. And it's very hard to be present at times when we get so flustered over dirt. We are dirt. I now trash unwanted memories. I gift cherished treasures that can bring solace to a lost spirit. I mend what can be mended or gracefully release old habits. I was taught that there was power in scrubbing the surface, scraping away remnants of a bygone era, a previous season, a past self. My favorite cleaning days are still Saturdays. I can't bring the hose inside the house. As I still can blast the perico ripiao, throw it on, and clean away, hanging onto the broom as I hang on to every dear memory from my childhood. And of course, with my mighty rag at hand, shining bright. As I reflect on it, I see it clearly now. Dust is that guilt that must be cleaned out. Tidiness, perhaps the judgment, wiping, the constant desire to erase, to push aside, to cast away. Madrina, my godmother, she told me, I can purify each space with water. Cover the cracks with lavender scent. If you're a Latino, you'll hear, Mistolín hace feliz a su nariz. It's like the equivalent commercial of Mr. Clean. I can call upon Shango to protect us as I clean, as I culminate with Palo Santo, purifying every single space. Then it makes me wonder, am I taking care of my temple, of my soul, of myself, as I have taken care of that physical space? Thank you. So, thank you so much for having me. My name is Adriana Devers. I am a poet, I'm an author, and I'm also a Spanish teacher. I'm currently teaching at Westbury High School. I just love everything that has to do with our language, with our heritage, with our mixed culture. So with everything that I write, I really try to focus and share elements that reflect on that heritage and that makes us question a lot of our upbringings. Because as much as I love it, I do find that there's a lot of guilt tied into the way I personally was brought up. With this one, titled Awaken, is my exploration of a spiritual awakening as it intertwines with my cultural identity and the cyclical nature of rebirth. Awaken. The day I passed, all of my demons danced around me. The scent of hibiscus awoke me as the soothing melody of an areito guided my spirit, a wounded spirit, through its journey home. The semis awaited my entrance. A storm of grasshoppers guarded the way. My presence got lost with the sound waves. And suddenly, everything got mixed with the areito. It grew stronger. And so did my desire. Music waves. Was it merengue? It just made my bloodstream their center stage. Then, Goddess, welcome. We've been expecting you. I looked around. Was I the only one there? What type of realm did my mind wander now to? This was my second attempt. Perhaps I succeeded this time. An echo of interference suddenly arose. Standing there, cayenas exóticas appeared before me. The wet dirt under my feet grounded me. Goddess, goddess. Hot air blown onto my face. Cachimbo. I recall the aroma of the last fiestas de palos that I attended. I could see the santos, the candles, the goodie bags filled with mentas verdes, peanuts. Rice grains had been placed all over the house. Buena fortuna, good fortune. I witnessed San Miguel claiming someone else's body. Santa Marta, peeking in through la vecina, a neighbor who became a snake on the bare floor. There, all at once, una limpia, la cura, mi renacimiento. I felt the handful, warm, soft. My long-lost soul returning into a minuscule body. The pain of existence felt like a new discovery. I could vaguely hear the comforting voice of a middle-aged woman. She said, "We will call her Soledad." And that's how I realized I had once again been awakened. Thank you. And that, just to give you some context, Dominican Republic is made up of a mixed race, and I am a very proud Afro-Latina, so I've been really trying to explore and look deeper into where our music comes from, look more into our heritage. Since I was a child, I always enjoyed the palos music, which is an Afro rhythm with different styles of drumming. So those are the different elements that you hear on here. And one very important thing, and I'll leave you with this one, has to do with hair. As I mentioned, El Señor Pepe has been with me for a very long time, and there's a reason. El Señor Pepe was always casted away. He was the last toy that my cousins and even my sister would play with. But for some reason, I always felt that he was a good companion, so I always hung on to him. And I was fortunate enough, and I put myself a timer. I was fortunate enough that when I got to the States, and although my cousins had taken all of my previous toys, they had left him behind. So when I went back that summer of 1995, Mr. Pepe was the only toy left there. And I was like, oh, you're coming with me. So here is a piece of memory that I'll hang on to for the rest of my life. Hair, because it really goes with our roots, it really goes with our heritage, and it really goes with what Mr. Pepe stands for. Hair a rainbow of possibilities, the weight of the past pushing us to go forward. Inclusivity in each strand, acceptance in every coil, brains filled with curls, creation in its best expression. All of me, all of you, all of them, all of us, home, alive, indulgent, rebellious, authentic, everlasting, free. That's why I come back. Feeling the roots from birth without knowing the magnitude of my own story. Feeling the flow of my blood that covers the earth as my conscience succumbs. Naughty, cozy strands, warriors. The mixture of my flesh, the monarchy of my spirits. My godmother's powers, my great-grandfather, riding through the clouds of my memories. Dance of the soul. My hair is existence, essence, celebration, and struggle. It is history. It is victory. The right to live without prejudice. Being and letting be. Genuinely free. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you. Ooh. Feedback, sorry. Thank you to all of our three writers right up here. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us. Another round of applause for them. Thank you for being here. I would like to invite to the stage now some of the people who were courageous enough to sign up for our open mic. So please welcome to the stage Nicholas Smith.
Mania. Mania is my heroine. Deep kick dreaming up 4 days, heavenly split above the cut. Better than the rest of them. I am better than everyone else. I am smarter than you. I will destroy you and me in the process. I am beyond a god. I am Christ reincarnate. Without anticipating his return. Fuck him, stupid bitch. I hate God. I will die alone tragically unless this ends. One way out. Only him or me. Thank you, Towns Van Zandt. Thank God for Legion, an army of demons. Why? Because without demons, what good would we be? We'd grow fat and lazy, arrogant and hazy. Dreams is real, man. Why, butterfly? Because I said so, this isn't over. Now fetch me some drugs, wench. Bitch, stupid ugly bitch, mania. Mania is a fallacy, phallically screaming for more demons tragically. Get me some eggs just to coat the pain of the nerves in my brain with omega-3 fish oil, fatty acids, throwback. A time machine to hell, straight up. The paranoia, ooh, the paranoia. I could shut the whole thing down if I wasn't too afraid of my own reflection. Selah. When you die, there ain't no going back. Take Jesus into your heart for the nights when the time gets dark. I can't wait to see the day the devil goes to hell. I want you to make it. You know heaven is the goal, and we want you to go.
Thank you, Nick. Our next open mic guest is Catherine Persky. Welcome to the stage, Catherine.
Okay, I'm not too savvy with a mic. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. So I was in a memoir writing class with the East Hampton Library, and this is a piece I wrote, and I thought it was appropriate for the theme of spring cleaning. And it's called moving Lester. Lester was my dad. A new condo went up in Naples near my dad's place. The Marbella was beautiful, with top-of-the-line amenities and an assisted living wing on the ground floor. It was ideal. Dad could live upstairs, and Mom would be just an elevator ride away. We looked at the model units. "I'll take it," Dad said when he saw the two-bedroom, with all the furnishings. Huh? Was this my dad? He'd never cared about style, and this apartment was breathtaking. Maybe he felt, after working hard his whole life and now taking care of his wife, he deserved something nice. And it would make moving easier. We could donate all his current furniture. We just have to clean out the drawers and closets. I poked around to size up the task. My parents had moved to Naples 14 years prior, bringing way too much stuff from Cleveland. I realized this move would be a massive undertaking. My brother came over from Tampa. "David, I'll need your help. There's so much stuff." I opened a closet door. "Here's at least 24 boxes of Kleenex. Mom must have kept buying it before we realized she has Alzheimer's. There's no way Dad can use all this, even if he lives to be 100. Why don't you take some, and I'll take some back to New York?" I arrived home to a phone message from my father. "Please call me as soon as you can. It's important." My heart sank. Something's happened to Mom, I thought. I called back. "Catherine, did you see those boxes of Kleenex that were in the den closet? Do you know what happened to them?" "Yeah, I figured Mom must have bought them a long time ago and forgotten about them. So I gave some to David and I brought some to New York." That was my Kleenex. I've been stealing it for years. And there were some really good boxes there, even some Puffs Plus. "I'm sorry, I had no idea. I'll send it back." I was laughing to myself and cringing. My dad was a hoarder and a kleptomaniac. Where was he taking it from? Most likely the VA clinic where he worked part-time. But I had visions of him being kicked out of his golf club for taking Kleenex from the locker room. My father's quirks had become more noticeable. Driving to work, he stopped at Dunkin' Donuts, bought donuts for the nurses, and grabbed fistfuls of napkins. There was a stack of Dunkin' Donuts napkins in the kitchen at least a foot high. And at Walmart, he grabbed extras of the extra-large plastic bags. I discussed my dad's hoarding with my friends, whose parents were also elderly. "They all do it," they reassured me. "Sugar packets, sweet and low condiments. It's because they grew up in the Depression." But Dad's facial tissue fixation was weird. When it was time to move, David and I went to Naples to clean out Dad's apartment. "What's the plan?" asked David. "Simple. You start at one end, I'll start at the other, and we purge." But Dad didn't want to part with anything, not even canceled checks from 1969. We had to throw things out after he'd gone to bed and taken out his hearing aids so he wouldn't notice us walking to the trash chute, making good use of those extra-large Walmart bags. Somehow we got it done. We donated clothing, Goodwill picked up furniture, we gave books to the library. Movers brought my dad's recliner, of course, to his new place. I was packing for New York when Dad entered the guest room holding something in his palm. "Catherine, isn't this the soap you like?" My dad knew I liked Neutrogena. He saved it for me when he found it in hotel rooms. He held out a used, dried out, cracked glycerin bar. The Ritz-Carlton logo was faintly visible. "Yes," I said, mystified. I thought you'd like this, as thanks for all you've done." I couldn't tell if he was joking. I didn't see that twinkle in his eye. I stared at the soap. I thought of our cat, Mitzi, who had been an expert mouser who'd left dead chipmunks at her feet. It was disgusting, but she meant well. I knew my dad's heart was in the right place. I resisted the temptation to say, "Ew, gross." I simply said, "Thanks, Dad, I love you," took the soap, and kissed him goodbye.
Thank you, Catherine. Our next open mic guest, Mr. Jacob Blair. Jacob Blair, welcome to the stage.
These are excerpts from a piece I wrote in the spring of 2020 that I've been sitting on about events that took place at the Air Force Combat Dive School in Florida. "40 men splashed into St. Andrews Bay, rolling backwards off two 30-foot center consoles. The sun had burned off the morning fog, and as we treaded water, the yellow buoys marking the route were clearly visible. In the distance was a floating dock marking the finish line. Just beyond it, a yellow crane loomed on the shoreline. I felt the push of a favorable tide. We wore a uniform blouse and pants, a load-bearing vest with 4 pounds of weight, a CO2 inflated life vest, rubber rifles strapped across our backs, a knife on our ankle, and a dive mask and fins. The water temperature was 66 degrees, but only a few guys wore wetsuits under their uniforms. The suit's buoyancy offset the weight of our kit, but made it easier to overheat during high work rates. An air horn rang and we were off, our fins churning the green water. I quickly fell into a rhythm, timing my strokes with the small waves undulating in from the bay. This was my second time at dive school. I'd failed the one-man pool competency test my first time, and I felt calm, certain of the rhythm of the days ahead and my place in them. The first swimmers passed the final buoy just before the 40-minute mark and clambered back into our boats. Swimmers continued to filter in for the next 10 minutes or so. As I sipped from my water jug, enjoying the moment of rest, I heard our instructors shouting to each other across the two dive boats. Mr. Sharby, a former Navy diver, told Sergeant Gussman, the assistant course proctor, that we were down one. He checked his clipboard. Baker still hasn't come in. Our boat was moored to the floating dock, and I saw Mr. Sharby standing on top of it, scanning the water with his binoculars. Normally he was quick to joke, stretching the boundaries of military bearing. Now his mouth was a thin line on his sun-drenched face. He yelled for students in the front of the boat to join him on the dock, while those of us in the back stood up and started scanning the bay. Elation at completing the swim vanished in a sea of nerves and disbelief. Shielding my eyes from the sun, I stood next to Ian Kark, my closest friend in the group, and peered out into the shimmering water. In the distance, Air Force wave runners crisscrossed the training area, methodically beginning a search. The training area spanned a shallow, sheltered part of the bay. The water was calm, and the air was clear. Keegan Baker would be easy to spot, especially if he'd pulled his CO2-inflated life preserver. I saw a brown shape in the distance, and my pulse quickened. I tapped Kark and pointed. "What's that?" As he squinted, the shape fluttered its wings and took flight. Minutes passed with no sighting. The mood on board grew darker. I grasped for explanations. As we swam, the current had pushed us northwest, diagonally toward the finish line and out into the bay. In our initial fitness test, Baker had been one of the fastest swimmers, but guys said he hated the water. Perhaps he'd lost his heading and was out in the channel, dodging commercial traffic. In our pre-swim brief, we'd been directed to swim for the shore parallel to the course if we ran into trouble. An instructor had joked the local police had driven other lost dive students home, though I think he meant from nights out on town. But standing on the boat, peering out to sea, I desperately hoped that Keegan was dripping in the back of a cop car. Mr. Sharby and the men on the dock re-entered the boat, and we began a slow loop around the training area. The shoreline was a few hundred yards away. There was a man in a yellow shirt standing on the dock. He seemed to be looking at an object in the water. A boy appeared from behind a building and sprinted towards him. Others saw the same thing, and we shaded our eyes, squinting as we tried to figure out what was happening. Our boat swung closer to shore. Sergeant Gussman surveyed the scene with his binoculars. No sign of Keegan. We peeled off and headed back towards base. As we motored into Alligator Bayou, the small harbor our boats launched from, I saw Navy and Marine Corps divers loading small craft with twin 80 scuba rigs, Stokes litters, and tending lines. The gear suggested they were preparing for an underwater search. As we unloaded the boats, I overheard Sergeant Gussman was on the phone with Master Sergeant Franklin, the course superintendent, saying that Coast Guard and local police were out on the water. With this many assets in play, I expected them to find Keegan quickly and held out hope that this would be a strange interlude in an otherwise normal day. After disembarking, we cleaned and checked over our gear, then changed and assembled in our classroom to await further instructions. The AFCDC classroom is simple: a smartboard, dry erase boards, and rows of chipboard tables and chairs. Cubbies in the back held our dive manuals. The walls were lined with 2 decades worth of plaques from classes of pararescue and combat control trainees who graduated the course. The room was silent, heavy with certainty. "Your teammate didn't make it," Captain Walker told us. His cheek twitched as he addressed our team. We recovered his body this afternoon. He paused and looked down at the floor for a moment. Thinking now, I should have called you guys down when we took him out of the water, but I just didn't think to. I guess I wanted to shield you. Captain Walker told us that Keegan had a flag draped over him and was transported to a local hospital for an autopsy. The situation is really shitty. He paused again, struggling to find his words. "Losing one of you, it's my worst nightmare." The shaky in Captain Walker's cheeks turned to tears, and he fell silent. More than 4 years later, I'm still struggling to find the meaning in the initials KIT, killed in training. When you do a dangerous job, it's easy to understand when people die, if that death is doing something meaningful. The autopsy showed nothing unremarkable other than small amounts of an OTC sleeping aid. In its eeriness, Keegan's death reminds me of the tenuous hold even the strongest among us have on life. A week after Keegan's death, we ran 2 miles in uniform down to the beach overlooking the dock, marking the swim's finish line. There was a clearing nestled within the palms and a small concrete building housing restrooms. Once again, the yellow crane loomed in the background. On a small stand in front of the beach was a picture of Baker. Next to it lay his fins, booties, and mask, and small mementos. We stood in formation facing the water, double arm's length distance due to new COVID regulations that were filtering through the Department of Defense. Our instructors and a few students shared brief words. Then we each marked up to Keegan's picture, said our goodbyes, and saluted. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. We have time for one more open mic. Nietzsche, welcome to the stage.
Hi. So I haven't looked at this for a while, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. On this Memphis night in January, you don't know me, and I will never know you. I mean the real you, except I saw your photograph of the railroad, the city in the background, standing tall. It was so good, museum-worthy. I heard your voice. I felt your anguish. I saw your confusion, the inescapable fear that seized you, your legs spasming, losing the strength to stand. You knew your aggressors were illogical. You realized they would never let you up again. 5 of them. Did not take 1 second to see you as human. Not 1 moment to look in your eyes and see that, like them, you are also a young Black man. Not a second arrived. Check themselves. Their bestial behavior, not one intervened to stop the madness, stop killing you. In the chaos of the world, the axe been captured, your broken-hearted mother, words applauded, the painful truth resonating. A good boy, a damn near perfect boy, my beautiful son. He loved me to death. Always watching the sunsets at Shelby's farm and taking pictures. A real good skateboarder. Started when he was 9 years old. He was 2 minutes from home, 80 yards from the house. This piece of land you moved to in your own country, you believed would provide you with better future, pay for your weekends to visit your son, and you could be together again. Your friend in Sacramento said you even thought in Memphis you could make a change if you got inside, join the police force. Oh, damn. I wish I could bring you back, erase the printed ink, rewind the videos, rewind the ceaseless news cycles, the familiar journalist faces. What do you think it'll take to stop these senseless murders? Again, in disbelief, they march, keeping their rage intact. TV channels consumed by ticking clock ratings, analyzing every hour the events that led to your untimely death. The airwaves flooded without pouring from American presidents until their interest wanes. 5 police officers beat your thin, free-flying skateboard body to bits. They beat you so badly, your beautiful expression was lost, stifled in shock, the handheld baton smashing your beautiful brain over and over, stung with pepper spray. With all their might, their fists pounding, feet pummeling, the big man holding your thin frame up again to receive even more pain, stomping out your muffled cries, suffocated on the empty street. On this night in Memphis in January, you lay broken, handcuffed. You were just trying to get home, sit at the table, be with your mother, your stepfather, your siblings, be there at 7 p.m., dinner time on this Memphis night in January. Tyree. Sorry. Your name will stay with me in my sadness, imprinted on the sea of American horrors. The shame, forever you and others like you, so many who walk, jogged, drove, slept in their home, snuffed out in minutes. They smashed and snatched your breath away, evacuating you from time, executing you. The time that was granted at your birth to live. It's spring. And here I am, left. I will not forget you, Tyree. I will not forget you, Tyree Nichols. I will not forget you, dying at 29 years young on this Memphis night in January.
Thank you very much, Nietzsche. So it looks like a technological glitch has resolved itself. So we would like to invite Rachel back to the stage to, to finish what was glitching before. Welcome.
My brain. No, sorry. I know you've had probably more than enough of me, but I didn't want to leave you hanging. And I don't know if you could tell, my documents weren't very well organized, and I happened to be missing quite a few of them. So I just wanted to let you know that in 2002, Carl Glazebrook and Ivan Baldry determined that the average color of the universe was a greenish white. But they soon corrected their analysis in a 2003 paper in which they reported that their survey of the light from over 200,000 galaxies averaged to a slight beige-ish white. Don't say that, that's hard. Beige-ish white. The hex triplet value for cosmic latte is FFF8E7. How audacious to state this as fact without including an essential qualifier, the average color of the universe as perceived by humans. Aren't there colors beyond our perception? To think that our view of unknowable expanses could fit tidily into a 6-digit code, that the nuance and complexity of who knows what dimensions could be reduced to a replicable ready-mix formula, the name of which, Cosmic Latte, voted upon, of course, by the internet, would make more sense on a crayon or the menu at Starbucks. Starbucks. I guess we found our answer. I want to let you know, a weed is just a plant that's out of place. And I'll leave you with love as a sequence of poem titles, as contributed by mostly a group of friends without realizing it. The guac cannot be saved, Phil. Jellyfish and the Postman by Daniel Rose. Peter Connolly on the importance of sheets. Wasabi Nights, Will Weiss. A Few Good Sebs, Victoria. Existential Vices, Julian. Dimples and Nipples by Johnny. Hipster and a Hairbrush, who said that again? Thick Glass, Weighted Blanket, and Cigars, Johannes. Noodles all the way down. Velocity Ain't Always Bad. I could be grossly miscalculating about sulfur or a dead animal, Pete. A dual sensory experience. Something to do if you're not doing something else, Will. Ask the Duck by Dennis Lanny. Matcha Mush and Drizzle by Lara Saget. Misunderstood Itinerant. Secondhand Rocks. Touchdown Kickball Hopscotch Karate. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rachel. One more round of applause for all of our writers. Thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your work. Thank you to all of our open mic writers who got up there. And thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful night.